So you've been working to improve the life of older adults living with dementia for the last 50 plus years. What are your hopes for the future?
My main hope is that society all over the world will not view an older person with cognitive decline as having a disease, and that the word disease is stricken from the vocabulary. I'm hoping that when people get very old, they will be viewed as having normal cognitive decline because of loss of brain cells from the age of 30 on. Just like we accept a person in old age who doesn't run anymore or walk as fast as they did anymore. We accept the fact. I think old age means acceptance to me, that I'm not as good as I was physically and also mentally, because the brain is part of the body. So my thinking is not as sharp as it was. I think to accept aging, the aging brain is part of living, just another life struggle, another life phase. Just like the adolescent has to struggle to be heard and has to rebel, part of adolescence, the old person too has to struggle with the problems of aging and the preparation for death and looking back on life and seeing all the mistakes and all the good things and being able to accept the mistakes, being able to accept the things that I wish I had done but didn't do. To accept that it's okay that I didn't do it. And I like me. I am, in spite of all the things that I wished I hadn't done.
So you hope that normal aging is seen as normal aging, not as a disease process, and that older people get support in that process of accepting their losses.
Exactly, and acceptance. And not seeing, oh my God, my mom's going crazy because she forgot what day it is. But well, my mom's 90 years old and she's lost a lot of brain cells. And this is normal part of getting old. So she forgot the day.
Right. Which forms really one of the principles of validation.
Accepting people where they are, I think.
Yeah. What do you hope for the future of validation?
Well, that aging, normal aging, is taught even in kindergarten. That kindergarten teachers learn to teach their students about their grandma and what happens normally to some grandmas and how the little child can respond. The validation techniques can be taught to very little children. And then throughout the lifespan, to know that when I get old, really old, I might forget where I am, maybe. And that, if possible, to accept that, not freak out.
So you want validation training really expanded from kindergarteners all the way through adults and professionals.
That's right. And it should be mandatory that validation is taught to anybody working with an old person who has cognitive decline?
What would be a perfect future for older adults with disorientation or oriented?
Well, that every older person is given some kind of a role in life, whether it's just buttering the bread for breakfast, but their human needs, for one is identity, which means I'm still useful. If it just means taking a napkin and folding it, whatever I'm capable of physically, that I can still do to give me a feeling of accomplishment and feeling of being part of society, not being shunted away or looked down upon because I can't do what I used to do. Accepting what I can't do and giving me something that I can do that makes me feel part of the community that I'm living in, whether it's just with my husband or my family or just all alone.
Mm-hmm. What do we have to do to get there?
I think we need support from the government, a financial support, so that the principles of aging, which includes validation, are taught to all levels of staff and to family members.
If you had unlimited funds, what would you do right this minute?
I would train validation teachers so that all over the world, well, anyway, all over America, in every nursing home, in every senior facility, in every home that has older people, that the relatives and the staff are trained in what happens when you get old and what is normal aging and how to communicate with people who have forgotten where they are. With respect, to respect them, not to look down on them as having a disease. I think that word disease should be stricken from our vocabulary because it means something that isn't normal and something that has a cure. Now, this might be good for the pharmaceutical companies to research. If they could find, Ponce de Leon tried to do this a long time ago and was not successful, to find the fountain of youth. And the same, I don't think that associations who are trying to eliminate the signs of aging are going to be successful, because it's part of living and dying. I think it's teaching people how to die would be very valuable.
Of course, you're not talking about people who do have a disease, like Lewy bodies, like Parkinson's, like Korsakoff, like vascular dementia. You're talking about the very old people who you worked with and with whom you developed the validation method.
That's right. I think that in aging, I think that's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the normal process of aging.
Right. Right, which we have medicalized and labeled.
That's right, as a disease.
Right.
But
Right.
if a person is 50, then it's quite a different story. And then they might have one of those diseases that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Then it wouldn't be normal. That what's normal for a 50-year-old is not normal for an 80-year-old. And to teach the validation techniques, which are merely listening, exquisite listening.
And exploring.
And exploring, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Helping that person express themselves And if that person is struggling with an unfinished life issue, but when a 90-year-old is restoring the past, and we all know that Wilder Penfield discovered that we all have the capacity to restore visual images from the temporal lobe of the brain. We can stimulate very vivid memories of the past. So if I see my a man who hurt me, and at age 90, this would be a very healthy, normal thing for me to wrestle with at the end of my life.
If you don't mind, I want to ask you about your vision for your future. How do you envision, you're 88 years old right now. How do you envision your future?
Well, I'm hoping that I don't lose whole bunches of brain cells so that I forget where I am. It's possible. Right now, I still have awareness of time and place. And I think if you gave me a mini mental test, I might not pass it. It's possible. Because I think my memory is not as good as it was. Or I wouldn't pass it as well as I did, say, 5 years ago. I think what I have to do is accept that. I'm hoping that if I forget where I am and lose my capacity to communicate verbally with the people around me, and that more and more I express emotions instead of words, that as I lose my cognitive faculties, and more the emotions come out. Maybe to substitute for the loss of cognitive ability, or maybe because now all these feelings that I've suppressed my whole life are wanting to be expressed, and they're coming out. And I'm hoping that there'll be somebody around who will listen, who will not judge me as, oh my God, she's going bananas. But well, there she is in the final resolution struggle.
So your hope for yourself is that you have people who will validate you as you move deeper into your final life stage.
That's right. I'm hoping to be able to accept it if I should have severe memory loss. I don't know if I can or not. I think that time will tell.
It ain't easy getting old.
That's what Betty Davis said. If it's not for sissies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing all this in the morning for you, in the evening for me.
Thanks for the opportunity and your involvement also.